now. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. And I sent out, I guess, yesterday on Facebook an advertisement, a promotion on L.A. Marzulli. And he is a fantastic person. He's done so much work. Matter of fact, I'm glad to get him for this hour, actually. And this is Dave Emmons and the Dave Emmons Show. And we are actually syndicated through WDY Radio also. So we'll be taking breaks at the bottom of the hour and then, of course, at the end of the hour for the radio station. But for me, I just told LA I'd just shoot it straight at the hour. But we have to divide it up into time so Eddie Carsons can take care of that. It's at Odyssey Radio, and that's odysseyRadioLive.com. Okay, here's a little bit about L.A. L.A. Marzulli is an author, lecturer, and filmmaker, and I've talked to him before on past radio shows. He's got so much knowledge; it's just an hour would probably has probably got his mind spinning. So he has penned 12, but he's penned 12 books, including the Nephilim trilogy, and we got into that before, and it was a CBA bestsellers list. Based on his work on the trilogy, L.A. received an honorary doctorate from his mentor, Dr. I.D.E. Thomas, who was the provost at Pacific International University. He was also honored with a gold medallion award from Chuck Missler at the K House Conference in 2014. His book series on the Trail of the Nephilim, I've gotten into that, and we talked to him about that in the past, a year or two ago. And there's other Nephilim stories, I guess, about the combat and everything with the Marines in Afghanistan, and we've talked about that before. But we'll see if we got time to talk about any of this. We'll see where LA takes us, because he's got so much information, and he's going to reveal evidence and massive cover-up. He believes to be the remains of the Nephilim, the giants mentioned in the Bible, the fallen angels, and that's the kind of book that I'm doing right now, is Angels and Watchers, and maybe I can get some information from LA about some of that stuff. Give me some ideas. Also, my book, of course, is What Do They Want? And that's through Hangar One Publishing, and the guys that is Doug and Alex, the editors and the bosses there. The book is outselling, but also LA's got several books. We're going to talk about two of them today. He's got so many books. He's so prolific in what he does. My three little books in my beginning, I'm kind of like a kindergartner, and I'm starting at a late age. So, L.A. Marzulli, hi, how you doing, buddy?
It's good, Dave. Thanks for having me back on. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I was glad to get you. So yes, you want to talk about this film, this new UFO film you're doing? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's an ongoing series. We've got two offerings, UFO Disclosure 1, and then of course number 2, which we just released several months ago. Both of these films are free, which is something I normally don't do. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money to create the films. And you can go to my YouTube channel, L.A. Marzulli. If you open up any of the text box below any video and you scroll down a little bit, you will see the links to the free UFO show, part 1 and part 2. We are working on part 3, which will not be free. We're also working on part 4, 5, and 6. So there's probably 6 films in the series. Number 3 will be more than likely released, I was hoping, for the end of July. With everything that's going on, we're looking at September now, and then followed by number 4, probably right before Christmas, something like that. But the second film deals with, I sat down with two, in my opinion, I sat down with 2 of the world's experts on ufology. One is the head of Exopolitics Portugal, Francisco Correa, and the second one is Preston Dennett, right here in California.
Yes.
Both of these guys have been immersed in the UFO phenomena literally for decades. So they're not newcomers. They're not, Johnny come latelys, nothing like that. Preston has written numerous books.
Oh yeah.
Preston and I disagree as to what the phenomena is and who's behind it, but that's okay. The reason why he's in the show and Francisco, we sit down and we talk about Roswell. We talk about the military's engaging with these entities. We
Right.
talk about Eisenhower and Holloman Air Force Base. We cover all this in the show, and of course, I go back and forth right here in my studio, kind of setting things up. Francisco's amazing because at
Yeah, we had a little glitch there and we lost a few of the words. Here I go with Zoom. I've been working on Zoom for a month and a half, and I got my Spectrum Tech out here today, tried to change some things over, and it's still glitchy. So I'm sorry about that.
no worries.
Uh,
So let me pick that up. 3, 2, 1. So Francisco Carrera, the head of Exopolitics Portugal, I mean, I hold his feet to the fire. We have a very cordial conversation, but someplace in the interview, I basically say, "Do you think this is some sort of deception?" And I asked the same question to Preston Dennett. Do you think this is benevolent or malevolent? Is it deception, like Dr. Jacques Vallée says? Jacques Vallée believes in his book, Messengers of Deception. So, it's about a 50-minute film, and we're working on number 3, which is a lot of different people that have had encounters. What we're trying to do is lay the groundwork. The phenomena is real, is burgeoning, it's not going away. I've been talking about this, writing about it literally for decades.
Now you're saying, LA, you're saying deception. Who's deceiving? Is it the ETs deceiving us, or is our military?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're the message is that they're here from some other planet, Zeta Reticuli or wherever. We're the good guys, the Greys are the bad guys. We're part of the Galactic Federation, Federation of Nations, Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek, right?
Right.
But in reality, they are incredibly nefarious. They abduct 5-year-old boys and implant them. They abduct women and get them pregnant, and then they come back in the 3rd month of pregnancy and abduct the woman again, and then take the baby from her.
Yeah.
I mean, how traumatic is that?
Right.
And some of this ties back into the biblical prophetic narrative, where it says their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not marry them. They will not cleave to them. That word cleave is the same word we get in the Genesis account where marriage is taking place. There's no marriage, which is exactly what we see in the abduction phenomena. They take the woman, they impregnate them. There's no marriage. They take the baby. We interviewed a woman. She'll be in episode 4 of our ongoing UFO series. She was impregnated 3 times, and they came and took the child 3 times. 3 different times they came and took the baby. And when she talks about it, it's visceral. I mean, it's gut wrenching. It's visceral. So they know exactly what they're doing, Dave. It's not the Texas 2-step. They know exactly what they're doing. Right. They do it deliberately. Fear is always the calling card of these entities. They move in the cover of darkness. They do this cat and mouse game, which has been going on for decades, if not millennia. Yet when the shamans go into the sweat lodges, guess who they're calling down?
Right. Yeah, and it's also been noted that well, they knock you out, or I call it dumb down because I've been dumbed down before. And another thing, I did this lady who had the 3 kids. Did she ever see any of the children? Because I heard that they bring them back one time.
Very interesting. You should say that. In the interview, she talks about this. Again, it's incredibly visceral. And, we don't have that DVD out yet, but I'll tell you what the punchline is. And when we get it out, I'll be back on the show. We'll discuss it in depth. But she's laying in bed. Another husband, the first husband that she was with, she divorced him. And the first husband is when she was taken over a period of like 6, 7, 8 years and impregnated. I'm just getting over a cold. Excuse my coughing.
Yeah, me too.
Else.
Me too. They call it the COVID cough, whatever the COVID cold.
Whatever that is, right?
Yeah. Oh, I shouldn't have said that word. V. Okay. V. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Wuhan flu. Thank you. But
Yeah.
so she's laying in bed with a new husband.
Hmm.
She hasn't been taken or abducted in years because she came to a knowledge of Jesus. She just accepted the Lord into her heart. The abduction stopped. So hallelujah. And we've heard this over and over and over again from former abductees. It's not a magic word, but there is something that's going on. That's why I think it's supernatural.
Right.
That's why this whole thing is supernatural. So she's awakened one night, sits up in the bed. Her husband switched off, of course. And there are three men standing about 10, 15 feet away from her. And she realizes instantly, these are my children. She knows that.
Mm.
And they look human, but not quite. The eyes are much bigger and dark,
Right.
for starters. She says on the record, they looked at her with such unmitigated hate that she was taken aback by it. She had trouble getting her head around why the hatred, but it was there. Unmitigated hate towards her.
Yeah, when you mentioned this about God and the spirit and the supernatural, I believe in that because twice I was being electrocuted and being abducted. It's in my book. And I got so scared that I screamed out, God help me. And it stopped. Yeah. The electricity, the electrical shocks that I was getting, it just stopped after I said that.
Well, and what people don't understand is this is a seed war. And this goes back, all of everything that we see goes back to Genesis 3:15.
Mhm.
If a person goes there and studies that, they will see that all the answers that they're looking for, whether it's the megaliths, whether it's the megalithic structures, whether it's the elongated skulls that we see here from Paracas, Peru, the abduction phenomena, the UFO phenomena, it's all there. It's all there in the guidebook of the supernatural, dare I call it the Bible, but it's all
Right.
there.
Mhm.
But people, they never study it, so they think they know, but they don't know. The Bible is a guidebook of the supernatural. It tells us exactly what is happening and what is going to happen. So someone is outside space and time as we know it, and it's calling out the future with great specificity. Unlike, with all due respect to Nostradamus, unlike the fuzzy quatrains of Nostradamus, you can read a book called Daniel that was written about 2,500 years ago. And in that, it says this very enigmatic quote: their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not marry them. So who are they?
And
Who?
also you're an evangelist, right? I mean, you also
Not really, no.
you, but you're into, the, I guess, talking the concept of God and the Bible and everything. I'm with you on that. I think the Bible was written or directed by angels or ETs, and this was passed down to the scribes that were writing these books. I agree with you on that.
Well, when you say ET, anything that originates off planet is in essence an ET.
So an angel
So
would be an ET.
an angel is an ET. I mean, we're mixing, but that's what it is. Any angelic being, a watcher that's coming down, they're not originated from this planet. So in essence, they are something an extraterrestrial. They're not from here. So we agree on that. But there is a supernatural world, and it's more real than the world around us, in my opinion. And when you get a scripture like that, a prophecy, it's talking about, listen to this. So Daniel's engaging with this entity, this heavenly messenger, and this entity, this messenger says, Daniel, seal up the words in this book, seal them up. Okay, seal them up. And then he goes, men will run to and fro over the face of the earth, and knowledge will increase. That's the kicker. Seal up the words of this book until the time of the end.
Right.
Knowledge will increase. Men will run to and fro over the face of the earth. Seal up the words until the time of the end. And now all of a sudden, that book is open, and guys like me are quoting that one particular verse, which says their seed will mingle with the seed of men. This all goes back to Genesis 3:15, which basically states that we call it a Christophany or a theophany, It's the pre-incarnate Christ in the garden. Adam and Eve have just sided with the dragon. So
The
Jesus says to
reptilian,
the
is that the
dragon,
reptilian?
oh, the dragon absolutely is a reptilian,
No.
but his real form, the shining one, Nakash, the shining one.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is, and I wrote about this in Countermove, right here. This is the latest book, number 13.
Okay.
Number 13 book. And we don't know how often Eve conversed with this guy. We're not told. I believe it's more than one day. It's, in other words, and she's not taken aback by the conversation. This is normal. She's not going, why is this thing speaking to me? It's normal. And she's conversing with it. So eventually the dragon leads her down the road. She blows it. Adam blows it with her. And then you got the pre-incarnate Christ looking at this. Sets up, this is everything. And if we don't understand this, we don't understand the world we're living in, what's about to happen, what has happened in the past.
Right.
He says to the dragon, your seed, your offspring will be at enmity, at war with the offspring of the woman. The one coming from the woman will crush your head. You will bruise his heel. 3 chapters later, we get the Genesis 6 narrative, where the watcher angels descend on Mount Hermon in the days of Jared. They take wives, multiple, they impregnate them. They're creating Nephilim, hybrid entities. They're mixing the seed, the offspring. I mean, it's right there. I mean, people go, well, angels can't procreate. Well, then you tell me what the seed of the dragon is. You tell me what happens in Genesis 6, what happens at the Tower of Babel, when Nimrod becomes Goborim.
It's interesting. I'm going through all that research right now, all the way from Enoch, all the way up. And I understand that it's a lot older than what we think. It's just not 6,000 years ago. This goes back thousands and thousands of years, and it's been passed down by folklore, by word of mouth, and it wasn't written until about, 900 BC or something like that?
Well, no, I mean, the actual scripture, like the Torah, is far older than that. But Moses, it really starts with Moses roughly 3,500 years ago, roughly. And that's when things, for instance, this is what's interesting, that one of the latest archaeological discoveries, and Aaron Lipkin, a friend of mine over in Israel, was really responsible for this. So there's an altar that was covered up, a closed altar. It's on Mount Ebal. Right. Mount Ebal is the gateway to the promised land. It's where Joshua, after he defeated the kings at Ai, went and built an altar. Well, there was an excavation there, but they didn't sift it. They didn't sift a lot of the soil. Okay. So they had permission to get the soil and go through it. They wet sifted it. They found this little tablet about this big, little dinky tablet.
Right.
And on it is in proto Hebrew. It's called something else, but it's there, and it's thousands of years old, and it's on Mount Ebal, where Joshua and the crew are. So this is thousands of years old. And it talks, the name of Yahweh is in that tablet. That rewrites the whole archaeological record. In fact, some of the archaeologists are saying, we have to go back to kindergarten. They've got to rethink everything.
Yeah.
And it says this: cursed, 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 cursed by Yahweh. You will die cursed, 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 cursed. There's 2 interpretations. The first interpretation is, this is the idea that if you don't follow the law from Moshe, you will be cursed. Get that? Because the amount of blessings and cursings, I understand that. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, the fact that Joshua's altar is built right after the defeat of the king of Ai, that's a Nephilim stronghold. All right. And Mount Ebal is right at the gateway to the promised land. And in the promised land are the Nephilim, the giants, different tribes, the Rephaim, the Anakim, the Nephilim, the Zamzummim, the buzzing ones. They're all there. different tribes, in my opinion, denoting different genetic characteristics. Is this a giant? No, it's not. Is it a Nephilim? Possibly. Anakim means long neck.
Yeah.
That skull behind me, in order to make it work, it would necessitate some sort of an elongated neck to balance the skull because of the placement of the foramen magnum. And since we're on that, let me show you what I'm talking about so you get it. Here's the foramen magnum right here. Hold on. So there's the foramen magnum right there. It's the brainstem.
Right.
This is where our spinal column attaches to our skull. Now, what's in there is just when Joe Taylor from the Mount Blanco Museum molded this, he puts clay in and a dowel, so the dowel will insert. That's not the way it's supposed to look. This would all be hollow, and all the nerve endings and stuff go through this. But the foramen magnum, and you can see how far back it is to the occipital plate.
Right.
Here's the rear plate of the skull. That foramen magnum should be right about there in the center of a skull in order to balance it. See that?
Right.
I can see human skull looks like this. Let me get my hand out of the way here. Hold on.
I've never seen it. Yeah, I've never seen a demonstration of that. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
A normal human skull looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's the foramen magnum all the way back here. So in order to balance this guy, he's got to have some kind of a longer neck. Isn't it interesting that one of the Nephilim tribes is called the Anakim, which means long necks? Now, am I saying this is a Nephilim skull? Could be. I don't know. Our DNA showed that these guys come from the Middle East, from Eastern Europe. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up.
And was it Jacob? It was Jacob talking to Moses, and they were going to the land of milk and honey, and they said that there's giants in the land, and they're going to be tough to beat, or they were afraid of them. How did they end up? How did they end up beating them? I mean, the giants. Or is there technology?
Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Lord will fight for you, and you will hold your peace. When they went in, they marched around Jericho 7 times. Jericho, no doubt, was a Nephilim stronghold. No doubt in my mind. They didn't do anything. They just blew the trumpets. The walls came down. That's supernatural. The Nephilim tribes that saw that and were there realized that, oh my God, the jig is up. And they began to flee the Levant, the promised land. Not all of them, but many of them fled. How do we know this? The Procopius, the Roman adventurer, sailor, historian, writes that there was a stele on the north coast of Africa, big, huge rock, ding, 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 carved in it. We are they who fled from the face of Joshua, the robber, the son of Nun. I'll say it again. We are they who fled from the face of Joshua, the robber, the son of Nun. Joshua is the guy that goes into the promised land.
Yes.
He's the guy. Why are they fleeing him? Because the Lord, the Most High God, El Shaddai, is clearing out the land. Why are they there? Read my book, The Cosmic Chess Match. Unless we understand Genesis 3:15, none of it makes any sense, and it won't. And this is what drives me nuts, because the layperson, unless, oh yeah, I've read the Bible. Oh yeah, no, you haven't. You've never studied it. Because in Genesis 3:15, if we don't come, and even in Christian circles, there are many, good people that have a complete, oh no, that's not what he's talking about. Angels can't reproduce, blah, 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 blah. Well, you can think whatever you want to think, but then it's genocide when you get into the conquest of Canaan. If angels don't reproduce, and there's no such thing as a Nephilim who are dwelling in there, and the text tells us that the Nephilim are there in the land, and we're like grasshoppers in their sight. So if it's not the Nephilim, then the God of the Old Testament, okay, and this, before I knew about the Nephilim, 42 years ago, I become born again and spirit-filled. I have a dramatic conversion, alone in my room. Nothing is happening. No one's hitting me over the head with the Bible. My mom had a little statue of Jesus, raised Catholic. I used to fly the thing around the room and make fun. Okay, that's who I was.
Right.
So I read the book, and I come across the line. I just go, because by that time I had tried everything. I did, Carlos Castaneda Vision Quest. I was in the ashram for 3 years. My third eye was open. I followed a guru. I was a complete new ager. I did vision quests. I mean, spirit guides, the whole 9 yards. But I was still the same schmuck that I always was.
Right.
And nothing changed.
Right.
So I'm reading this book, Dave Hunt, Kingdom of the Cults, or The Cult Explosion, one of those two titles. I always get the titles mixed up. Forgive me. But it's by Dave Hunt. And at the end of this little prayer, a little goofy prayer to accept Jesus, it's like, because I didn't know who he was. I had a preconceived Catholic idea of who Jesus was. I had no idea, none at all. And I grew up Catholic and knew some of the stories, but had no idea.
Well, two
Certainly
angels,
never read the Bible.
yeah, two angels actually impregnated Mother Mary, and the Nephilim. How tall were they? They didn't.
No, absolutely not.
Not really. Not. What happened?
No, the Spirit of a living God overshadowed Mary. It came upon her, and when that Spirit of a living God, remember, and this is what this again. It's like we're talking the deep things of theology, that you've got 3 in 1. You've got the Father, you've got the Son, and you've got the Spirit, and all 3 are one. They're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? We don't know, because it's beyond anything we can possibly conceive. But the prophecy is this, that you will conceive a child, for the Spirit of the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of a living God will overshadow you. How did that happen? She's a virgin, and that fulfills the prophecy. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and give birth, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. I mean, it's all right there.
Let's hold that thought. Yeah, let's hold that thought, LA. This is the Dave Emmons Show, Dave Emmons, and we're syndicated through WDY Radio, and that's Odyssey Radio Live. And I have LA Marzulli, and he is fantastic in this thing. I mean, great information. We're going to be right back after this quick pause, and we're going to finish another half an hour. All righty, be right back.